let's think about things that happen in science, for example.
Well, if
That
we're both approaching this from an empirical standpoint, which both Hitchens and Craig are doing, because almost every atheist is a kind of basic level naive empiricist. Not all, but most. Then, I mean, aren't they both just trying to, from sense data,
hmm
erect a system that tells a story? And why do we prefer one story over the other story
yes.
if we're all just making up stories from our sense data? I mean, why is it preferable to look at the billions of aeons of time and say that it was all fine tuned for man, or it was all just probabilistic chance, because we're just all kind of shooting arrows in the dark, with trying to do the best we can in erecting and building a system and telling a story.
Yeah, suppose so. Remember the work that we did on Quine and Duhem, and that you can't derive the theory of the underdetermination of data.
Right.
That you cannot validate your scientific paradigm as true from the observations and data and evidence,
Mm-hmm.
because that can actually, let's see. So, for example, you have theory A, B, and C, and they're all different. And here is the sense world, the world of sensation, of sense data,
Yeah.
appearances. All of this here, the empirical world, will equally verify A as much as it will B as it
Yes.
will C. Now, suppose that A is the Copernican world, the geocentric, the Ptolemaic system of the geocentric.
Right.
C is the Copernican heliocentric, and B is multiverse. All of the data is confirming that. So
Right.
I can't actually tell. There's no. So watch how I bring it into Hitchens' argument that could actually refute Craig. There, I find no good reasons or evidence, therefore, because of the underdetermination of data, to believe in A
Yes.
or B. Well, can't we say the same thing? He's actually making the same thing because of his empiricism, his
Right.
foundationalism, and evidentialism. Craig's opened up to this exact same problem
Mm-hmm.
of the underdetermination theory of
Right.
sense experience data. And so Hitchens can make an argument. I don't have to disprove, I don't have to prove that God doesn't exist. What I'm saying, if I use this argument, I don't see any good evidence or
It's
reasons.
a
And in
non
fact,
sequitur.
I can explain all
Yeah.
of this here without God. I can explain it with C or B.
Right.
So he's got about, so I give some points
Yes.
to
So
Hitchens
here
on that.
I would phrase it like this, as I was writing what you were saying. On empiricist grounds, which both men share, how do we know which grand story, because they're both telling a grand story about billions of years past and where we're going and man's meaning and all this stuff and Jesus, which grand story fits the pieces of data better? There's nothing that tells us on the basis of more and more data which story works, because we'll never have enough data to explain the whole story, right? So, in other words, all Hitchens has to do is say that I don't have to prove my atheism. All I have to do is show William Lane Craig, on your grounds, your position is a non sequitur. It doesn't follow on the basis of all of this data that your story that tells and explains the data is the only option. Couldn't there be more data that we'll learn in the future that better explains from a naturalistic standpoint? I mean, William Lane Craig, once he's interjected probabilism, he's admitted that,
By the
right?
way, I realized, of course, you can't see my pencil. That's why Jay had the right idea, the right paradigm pen. I don't know if you could see that, but the idea was that from the sense data, the appearances, that each paradigm explanation can, or each paradigm or worldview can account for. So again, if that happens like that in science, why can't Hitchens make his argument? Let's suppose A is God. I don't have to disprove God. That's not my position. What I'm saying is, based on an determination of the theory of data thesis, I find no evidence or reasons to confirm A. And in fact, I could use another hypothesis like atheism, that there is no God, to explain and that the sense experiences.
Yes. So in other words,
that's a good argument.
It is a good argument. He's called it back to the paradigm level and said, unless you want to go in the direction of transcendental arguments and presuppositionalism and question paradigms, there's nothing prima facie that tells me which paradigm explains this data correct.